Hi, Mayor Coons.
Look at there. The magic of cellophane tape.
I think, yes. That's what people say. All right, super.
This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, February 15th, 2022 Monmouth City Council meeting. We will open the meeting and ask for the roll call, please, from our city recorder, Phyllis.
Councillor Belts.
Here.
Councillor Carey.
Here.
Councillor Lopez.
Here.
Councillor McKeel. Councillor Salinas Oliveros.
Here.
Mayor Coons.
I'm here. And Councillor Salinas Oliveros, would you lead us in the flag salute, please?
I'm not currently.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to its republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, I would like to report that I am in fact present despite not being a part of the roll call.
Yes, please, city recorder, please mark Councillor Oberst present as well.
So noted. It was already noted. I just didn't say his name.
She just was giving you less microphone. All right, this evening, our consent calendar consists of the minutes of the council meeting of February 1st, seems so long ago. And unless there are any additions or corrections to the minutes, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'd move.
So moved.
Got a
Second.
motion from Councillor Carey. We'll call that a second. Councillor Salinas Oliveros, that's okay.
Good.
All
Yeah.
in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. And we do reserve time for comments for items not on the agenda. There's no one here in the room with us for public comment. Phyllis, did we have any pre-delivered comments or anyone identified online?
I have no pre-delivered comments and there is no one online
Okay,
to make comments.
thank you very much. Well, that moves us very quickly to our business agenda. And this evening, we do have a business agenda, our standard reports, one work session item and adjournment. So we will start with the ongoing discussion about the dissolution of WMPEG.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and honorable council members. I have put before you a staff memo that talks a little bit more in depth about an intergovernmental agreement that Lane Shetterly drafted for us and which we are seeking agreement from the other two parties to the agreement, but have brought before you this evening further to Councillor Salinas Oliveros' input from the WMPEG board. We are at a point now where we think dissolution of WMPEG is an appropriate next step. And we have derived some percentages for the assets that have that exist in the funds. And those percentages were derived based on the inputs to those assets. So I think all should be in order, but we seek your approval to actually officially dissolve and sign this agreement. And I'll take any questions.
All right. Comments? Councillor Oberst?
I'll just say I'm sorry to see it go every time. I spent a lot of time working on trying to keep this organization going during the time I was in the middle seat, and we did manage to get some newer equipment and sort of keep things moving along. But with the slow death of cable television as we know it, there just doesn't seem to be an outlet for this anymore. So with that, I would move approval of this item.
I'll second. Do you need the formal proposal motion read?
I just have one potential correction, could call it a Scribner's error, and that is the Independence Monmouth School District 13J is actually the Polk County School District 13J, known as the Central School District. I'm not really in Independence Monmouth School District, so if that change can be made.
It certainly can.
the motion.
Actually, I would yield the second to Councilor Salinas Oliveros, who was so instrumental in making this happen.
I'll second. Thank you.
Great. So moved and seconded. Are there questions or discussion?
Janet, you mentioned that, I think I heard you correctly, when you said that you were seeking consensus or approval from the other two entities. We had conversations on that. Is that imminent? Are there any bones of contention here that might cause this to come back to us?
My understanding is that there are not. So City of Independence will be taking it forward to their council at their next meeting. And I believe they are fully on side with the agreement. We are waiting on, and Marty knows more about this, but Western Oregon University is looking, their legal team is still reviewing the document, but our understanding is that the folks involved with WIMPEG at WU are very much on side with the distribution of assets. And so the only thing I can think of is that there might be some additional wordsmithing that their legal team might request, but I don't think it, if it's significant or substantive, of course, we will bring it back.
Thank you.
one last comment. I'd love to see us going forward at dedicating these funds to the audiovisual setup in the new council chambers when it is ready. And hope that
Polk County Family Community Outreach Services would be provided out of applications through the end of the fiscal year, and that Polk County would dedicate 2 staff to begin providing these services. And as you heard from Brent Mo, the scope of services range from everything from rental assistance, transportation assistance, to other financial assistance and family services, and connecting people with services, which in our staff report here, we're calling resource navigation services. But really, the idea is that our American Rescue Plan funding would be gap filling dollars that when they have other funds that are helping a family or helping an individual, and they just need a small other bit of either funding or connection assistance, that would be provided here in the community. And also that their staff would be located here in the community and give that help to just Monmouth Independence residents. So longer term, Polk County is willing beyond the fiscal year to commit to finding a longer term location or in place for those services to be provided. And our plan is for the end of the fiscal year to put together that plan and a subsequent agreement following. So Polk County said that they were prepared immediately, March 1st, to begin providing these services in our city. I'm not sure what else to cover about the terms, except to say that we're, the conversations that we've had with Polk County so far have been exciting and also on point relative to your discussions about the kinds of things that our community needs here in Monmouth Independence. And so anyway, we're seeking your okay to have me sign this agreement and enter into a short-term agreement. We'll bring you back something for the longer term once we have a permanent or a longer term space for these services and can get them up and running and figure out how they're. Welcome your questions.
Councillor Salinas Oliveros.
Yes, I want to thank you for integrating number 2, the need to have at least one bilingual English and Spanish staff and employee that's there at all times when the center is open. That is so crucial to our communities, and that will make such a difference. So thank you for incorporating that. That is a huge step in helping our community.
Other comments or questions?
Carol.
Carol McKeel.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I noticed on page 2 of the agreement that the county agrees to operate the center 3 days a week. Is that, will the center, maybe I was just reading it too quickly, but I didn't see that the center was going to be open 5 days. It's only going to be open for 3 days a week?
To start with.
Right. I would, the way I look at that is that what we put together in the short term is an initial plan that in which Polk County is making the commitment to devote the time of their current staff. And if you recall in Mr. DeMo's presentation to us last month, he has, I think, a staff of 3 at the moment that he's trying to expand to at least 5. And so he's in the process of hiring to expand the staff of resource connectors so they would be operating still in Dallas, but then also now in our communities. And so the ability to ramp up the staffing here in our communities, initial plan is for 3 days a week. And I think longer term, the intention is to expand that.
So just a question on that. I know that the resource center didn't get, in the past, the resource center didn't have much action, and I thought it was because they were not open 5 days a week, but maybe it was just because it was hit and miss. Does anybody have the history there that would know?
I can share, I can relay the same information that I received from Brent DeMo at Family community outreach, and that is that the prior model for staffing the resource center was that it was, they attempted to staff it with staff from different agencies each day. And it wasn't, so the continuity of staffing, availability from each of those agencies was not there. And that was part of the reason that the services were not available by midweek.
Okay.
Yeah, worse than that, it was only 2 part days a week, and yes, it was because full-time people there, they were people who might be pulled in other directions. That is not the intent here, and that's why Polk County is staffing it themselves instead of having different agency partner staff.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you, Ms. Wine. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All righty. Yes, Counselor Carey.
Marty, thanks for getting this moving. This has been kind of a priority. And so March 1 is, well, an aggressive timeline, an appreciated one. And hopefully, while we may not be fully up to speed, we will be on the way to getting it done. And while it is temporary, I'm concerned that being able to get to it might be a little difficult. I don't, it's not walkable necessarily for a large portion of towns. But I mean, we'll take what we can get and move with that. I wonder if there's any chance that we could somehow link some public transportation to go by that. I just don't know. We've got an expert over here, but whether they're on a short-term basis, whether that could be, and maybe that isn't even necessary. But one of the key things of this whole thing is going to be the access to it and being able to get people there. And well, a number of them would certainly drive. There may be some that are challenged mobility-wise. So anyway, it's just a thought. It's not by any means anything that we should be upset about at this point. But anyway, this is my thought. Now, I need a little help on, because I heard you say one thing, Marty, and I thought I read another one. And this might be to Lane's craftsmanship here, but on number 1 item on the agreement, and I believe it's the 3rd sentence down, that talks about the outreach to residents of Monmouth and Independence and make the services at the center available to them, including those and families who are not already receiving services through the Polk Resource Center, provided the county will not limit its services through the center to such residents, but will provide services without regard to the residents of the person requesting the services. It's a hard sentence I read it about 8 times, and I think I wintered it down to understand that it says that it will serve everybody. And then, but then I thought that did you say that the focus would be the Monmouth and Independence residents?
We did.
Okay.
And if it would help to explain what we think that means at this point.
Perfectly clear to me.
Like the resource,
I'm sure it is.
like the Resource Center in Dallas, any resident of Polk County can come and request services or seek services there. In the case of this agreement, what the cities are doing is dedicating our funds to be able to help the residents of our 2 cities. And so, just for example, a resident of Falls City or a resident of Dallas can come to this center and request services, but the payment for those services would be made by Polk County and not by us.
Oh, okay.
And so the distinction is that, yes, the center would be open for everybody. So in some cases, this would act as a satellite to the academy building in Dallas. At least and then depending on what the expansion of these services look like here, be open to everybody, but what we would be paying for would be the services that are we're going to our residents.
Sure.
And the other thing that's in this sentence, little nugget, is the engage in outreach. So they're actually going to, this says that they're going to make an effort to bring in
Yeah.
Monmouth and Independence residents And, particularly that are not already receiving services. But like Marty says, if somebody comes in, happens to live outside of the city limits, they're not going to say,
Sure.
we can't help you here. It's just that if they do, then neither Monmouth or Ensign is responsible.
Good.
And that's in number 5, where it talks about us.
Yeah.
They will bill Monmouth and
Yeah,
Independence for the services to
Sure.
Monmouth Independence residents. So they'll have a way of tracking where those folks reside for billing purposes, not for service purposes.
Good, thank you.
Counselor Belt.
I just was double checking things. It's at the end of 16th Street by Hoffman, is that correct?
Yes.
Chariot's Flex Route 45 will serve that area. It's called a deviated fixed route. Someone would need to call and say, I need to get to this location. So yes, there is
Oh, good.
transportation there, at least Monday through Saturday at this point.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it is up.
the outreach.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We will ensure that we make sure people know that they can get there.
Great.
One other word on that trolley.
Absolutely.
I was gonna
Sure.
say what the
Ding,
front
ding,
is
ding.
gonna look like, but-
Yeah, sure.
Also, the other thing that since I'm doing it with Polk County for that facility, the thing that they feel confident about, beside it being equidistant, right, is that it is on School Row. So families, particularly in our community, are very comfortable with getting themselves to the high school or to the middle school because they have children going there. So for families, it's something they have access to get to. And the county thought that was a good fit for now. And then as they look at longer term relocation potentially.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, Counselor McKeel.
I would like to make the motion if it's so okay.
Please.
I move to authorize the city manager to sign the intergovernmental agreement with Polk County and Independence for Resource Center services. And thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Counselor McKeel and Counselor Belts for the second. Seeing no additional comments, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, heartily. Thank you very much. Again, Marty, that's great.
Yeah, good work.
Good work. Yeah, thank you, Lane, for helping us get that
Yes,
together
yes.
quickly. But these services can start March 1st. That brings us to reports, and I will start off by mentioning giving my annual report on the Monmouth Independence Community Foundation's Fund of Activity for the Monmouth Bicentennial. And this is my annual reminder that the late Scott MacArthur, at the end of the Monmouth Sesquicentennial celebration, the committee had some money left over, and Scott MacArthur contributed additional funds so that the fund with $2,056. That would be the year of the Monmouth Bicentennial celebration. And he has contributed to it over the years, but the money is invested with the Monmouth Independence Community Foundation. And we have a statement of activity for the year. And I am pleased to announce that the current amount of the fund is $7,770.76. So this is an endowment fund. The money continues to roll over to be invested by the Community Foundation Board and Investment Committee. And again, with Mr. MacArthur's stated intention that in 2056, which is coming quickly upon us, in a short 34 years, that we are having a hell of a party. Scott's memory, I hope that happens, and we're here to see it. But this statement of fund activity, I'll share with our finance director. They know those funds are there, and hopefully this legacy lives on. And I'm sure the Community Foundation will take additional donations to that endowment. Thank you to those of you who were able to attend the Chamber of Commerce State of the Cities this morning. Again, a little virtual format, 8:30 on a weekday morning. Wasn't the same old thing as we've enjoyed in the past, but really appreciate the opportunity to talk about, reflect back on really the last 2 years and sort of where we're going, and to hear the same from the City of Independence. And I think it was quite clear that there was a pronounced theme of partnership and interdependence. And the work that's been done by the two communities over the last year is evidenced again by, how we're working through a new thing, the IGA with Polk County, and dissolution of something we've shared in the past, which is WMPEG. So appreciate that, and appreciate the help I got in putting that together. And also, just some things coming up. I know tomorrow night is the Council of Governments, Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments annual meeting. Unfortunately, the same remote format, but hope folks get a chance to join in on that and again, celebrate good things going on in our partner communities. The last thing I have is actually an incident that happened a couple of weeks ago in our community. There was a young man who is a student at Western Oregon who was running on the running path along Highway 99 when a large truck with a Confederate flag drove by. The driver of the truck yelled out the window repeatedly at the young man using the N-word, and then threw a beverage at him. The young man has asked not to be identified. He was in the middle of midterms and also competing in his sport. And the university has been working with him. I think Marty can also report that our police chief has reached out to the athletic department to offer help, support, and see if there was anything we could do. I know these kind of stories out, and I know that personally, I wish we could tell this story very strongly, and we can say most definitely that this is not the kind of behavior we welcome or allow in our community. We can't have this kind of behavior, and I hope everyone can join me in condemning that kind of action against a student or anyone else in Monmouth or Independence. We will continue to be vigilant about this. Again, our chief is continuing his investigation and trying to do everything he can to ensure that the people of our community, especially our students, feel safe. So that is something I wanted to share with you all. The Western campus is aware of it. The Western Oregon University Board of Trustees actually is having a presentation tomorrow from the head of the local NAACP to talk that through and see what else Western can do in these kinds of instances. So it is very much a topic top of mind of leadership of our community. With that, we will move to reports of council representatives, boards, commissions, what's going on?
Madam Mayor, if I may ask a question about your presentation.
Yes.
Is that appropriate at this? Yeah, the Board of Trustees is meeting or making a presentation with NAACP to see what they can do. Is there something as a city that we can actually also do formally, just like what can we do to keep this from educate people, keep this from happening again? So, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And actually, since I'll put on a different hat and be at that Board of Trustees meeting tomorrow, I absolutely intend to ask that question. And if in fact, I think that speaker, or we find others who can come and speak to us, and Marty and I will be inviting a speaker to come and help us understand our role and what we can do. Yep. Councillor Salinas Oliveros.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for sharing that story. I do want to say that Pastor Frank Morris did share that story with KMUZ in a recent interview about Black History Month. And he did stress just the importance of those partnerships and how he, as a Black man, is available to our community to work through these types of issues and open to that, and how that community connection is really important, and that he was available for that. So I thank you for sharing the story here, and I hope that we continue to challenge ourselves and find the courage to continue to share stories and to find solutions and support each other. So thank you for sharing.
So with that, any activity with our boards and commissions? Councillor Salinas Oliveros and Councillor Oberst.
I just wanted to say that our Historic Commission had not an official meeting because we did not have a quorum. We had a great conversation, but nothing was recorded, so.
Sir.
Parks Board met last Wednesday. We have the 90% construction drawings on the new skate park in hand. And right now the materials list and the construction cost estimate are on their way. Not here yet. We have made a large sign to put up on the S-curve, and Public Works has just been hammered with other jobs. They've not been able to get that sign up. Hoping to see that sign go up sometime in the next week or two. Trying to increase community awareness that this thing is coming. I think a lot of people have wanted a new skate park for a long time, and I don't know that everybody understands that this thing is on its way. It's a matter of time still, but there is some good energy behind it. I'm going to be trying to reach out and see if I can stimulate a little bit of community activity around this park. We really need to demonstrate to granting agencies that we have community support, and that's going to mean getting people to step up, write letters, et cetera. Every year the Parks Board has recreation grants that they hand out, and there's been work around the application and the grading process for those applications to try to clean that up a little bit. That's coming along. Stevie Reed's memorial bench should go in sometime in the first week of March. So look for that in downtown park. That's going to be a nice little addition to the park, I think. And we also have a list of Parks Board goals for this were reviewed, and then we're going to prioritize and start looking at actionable items at next month's meeting. And then finally, some of you may be aware that as you go north out of town on Riddle Road, there is a new development, multifamily going in. And the developer of that multifamily housing development is donating a furnished park to the city as part of the development. So we will be adding a park. Board to review naming guidelines and process at a future meeting. So we don't know what it's going to be named yet. Next meeting will be March 9th. We meet at 6 Public Works on the S-curve.
Great, thank you. Yes, Councillor Belt.
Just to report on 2 meetings. SEDCOR did have a meeting. I am representing the city at SEDCOR meetings. It was February the 2nd, and we discussed a number of things, bylaws and that sort of thing. But the most important part was we did do a strategic planning. They do strategic planning every 5 years. So we just discussed some opportunities, things that board members were interested in, and then staff will come back and report back to us on what they want to do 5 years going forward.
Do you want to remind folks
I'm sorry.
SEDCOR is.
SEDCOR is, it stands for Strategic Economic Development Corporation. And in essence, they started in the city of Salem many years ago, but they serve all 3 counties. And they economic development guidance, incentives. They find businesses that need places to go, and they find locations that need businesses to move into. And the board of directors are elected by in a wide variety of areas. And this year I opted to throw my name in the hat as a representative for the city, and I got elected. And so there are a number of other rural people, and what so interested about at the meeting was there was this thought that rural meant we were way out in the middle of nowhere and had zero interest in economic growth. And I corrected that really quickly. Kate Schwarzler and I both said, wait. We have so much growth going on, and I was able to report about all the growth we have. And I think there was a bit of a surprise by some people. So
The mayor would go on to the Senate. So looks like positive reaction to our plan. I tried that the 8 and look forward to doing with it. And don't see any others. So speaking of
Thanks, Mayor and Council. I have very few things to report. 3. One would be, I just want to give you an update about in the last week or so, we've learned about some transitions that are going to be happening on staff. I just wanted to give you an update about what we know and, let you know about the look ahead in time. I heard earlier that we have a couple of vacancies in the police department. We're recruiting for a police officer and for a police sergeant. And so we're looking forward to the recruitment yielding great applicant pools and having new folks join us. If you haven't already, I think I announced a couple of weeks that we hired someone into the counselor position, and that she's aboard and working. And so the police department is, they're working to get us full staff. We're going to have some key vacancies coming up in the next couple of weeks. So you're going to see us recruiting for a number of positions. One is in our department, which is a division two, our building inspector has given his notice, and so we'll be recruiting for in our building department. And then I'm sad to report, but first happy the individual that received a resignation retirement announcement from our
Discussion. Chair Olson did a great job of really focusing that. Members absolutely expressed their concern about this is Monmouth money. This is Monmouth support. We can't let a majority of other people come in and try to pressure the city to do something. But knowing that there'll be a complete change of for the board anyway, 4 seats doesn't be any kind of undue with internal pressure. So make a comment, we can invite him up as well. Do you have anything to add to that, Pat? Please.
I think
that we no longer attract members from 6 cities anymore. We attract members from 12 cities, which is quite a change.
To being in a superior quality of senior center. They're paying the same price, so.
All right,
Again, do want to clarify that these are paid
Friends.
supporters of our
Yes,
Friends of the Monmouth
absolutely.
Senior Center.
Right.
You do not have to pay anything
No.
to participate and be a member of our senior
No,
center.
right, right. I know that. Whereas in Rochester, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, some get a freebie.
There's a diverse style of senior centers
Right.
all over the nation. Some are totally nonprofit. Some are getting zero, dollars or support from the city. Some are a mixture like we are. And I think we're incredibly lucky to have both. And it's contributed greatly to the success that we've had as a senior center.
When we were looking for money to add to this senior center, one possible source was community development block grants. Unfortunately, the federal government required that the only use of the building would be seniors from Monmouth, period. You
Yes.
couldn't have anybody.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and thank you very much for bringing this. I'd like to join Councilor Carey's sentiment that officers. Currently, we have Pat as a very capable and uniting chair to be able to provide that guidance. But I think that we all see how big of an impact the chair person can have of a board. And I'd like to ask, has the makeup of the body of board officers come up for discussion while you've been re-envisioning how the board could be put together? I personally would love to see a Monmouth individual be guaranteed at the very least that chair position leading the board. But I'd love to hear on the topic of officers. Impact officers. If we have, in one scenario have a 3, or we end up going with 4 out-of-town individuals that are on the board, and those individuals also hold the that chairperson or the budget coordinator position. That then drastically changes, I guess, how the decision making of that board flows. So I would just encourage us to, while we're looking not only at the makeup of the board, but also look at the officer aspect as well, and be considerate of how that can impact future decision making.
Councilor McKeel?
Yeah, I actually think that's a nice catch, Councilor Lopez, because it wouldn't have said a Monmouth person needs to be chairperson, because all the people were supposed to be from Monmouth. So by default, it would have been a Monmouth person. I'm wondering if I like your idea of, maybe the chairperson and the budget coordinator needs to be from Monmouth. But I'm inclined, given that there was robust discussion and a unanimous vote of the Monmouth people who are currently on the board, to trust our senior advisory board, and would just like to kind of check with what's the possibility of, let's go ahead and do the changes as they suggested, with, I think, the stipulation that Counselor Lopez, the notice that Counselor Lopez made about the makeup of the officers. And let's try it. How hard is it that if this thing crashes, well, okay, that didn't work. We've got a rogue senior center that now belongs to Independence. So, and then we just back up.
As long as it isn't full on.
There you go, John.
Dallas and Fall City are going to band together.
Okay.
So actually, there's a question there. Is that something that we can do? Go ahead and make the changes, see if it works, and if it becomes a problem, then we correct it.
Okay. Counselor Salinas Oliveros and Counselor Belts.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I was going to say, hearing the conversation, I too think we need to trust our senior center board. And I do like the idea of reviewing officers as far as them being Monmouth residents. I love that Monmouth Senior Center has a great reputation. I mean, that says a lot about our city and about our center. And, you know, the other thing too is if there is a clear mission statement, a clear job description per se, that says this is your purpose on the board to uphold, you know, decisions, budgetary decisions, activities that will benefit Monmouth residents. And if that's clear, then anyone who veers off of that, you know, does the director have a say in that to say everyone understands that this is our mission, our goals for our Monmouth residents, and if you're fulfilling those or not. I mean, I come from that background of careers and jobs and even volunteer positions, and these are important positions. So I am inclined to trust our senior center board to take the recommendations about reviewing the officers and how that is spread out, and then to really emphasize, you know, the goal and the mission of your responsibilities on the board and making that very clear to whoever serves so that our Monmouth residents are always being served through the senior center.
And thanks. Before Counselor Belt speaks, just so the mission doesn't limit to Monmouth residents. The mission of the senior center is to serve seniors in this area, and they're very clear about that in their mission. So that wouldn't be particular to that, but obviously the stewardship of Monmouth resources to support these activities is what's important. So, Counselor Belts?
Barbara and I spoke about this many months ago, and I brought it up at City Council that this was going to come about. And I really appreciate all the work that you've done and your board that you have done. And you've obviously discussed this and you've thought this through. I understand the concerns about quorum and about the number. What makes me a little uncomfortable is this presupposition, and I think that's a word, that there's some sort of ulterior motive of somebody from Falls City getting on the board and they're going to somehow change this policy. That concerns me a little bit more. It seems almost elitist and it seems very Monmouthian, like, well, and so I agree. I support the board discussed this. I think we should trust the board. I also trust Barbara. She's in a position where she will have a certain amount of authority over this. I know you're not in charge of the board, but she will know what's going on at the board meetings, and we will also have a choice in who those board members are. Am I correct?
Yes,
they will come before us.
Every member.
They will come before us as well. So we will have that choice. If if we're uncomfortable with something, then as a council, I think it's our decision as well. So I would say I support what you're doing. I do agree, maybe making sure the chair is always a Monmouth resident, just to make sure we have that stability. Beyond that, I'm comfortable with what you've presented. Sure.
If I could say, I think if you're going to go that route, I would say chair and vice chair.
Mhm.
Because that vice chair would have to be able to succeed as
Yes,
chair.
thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And I would say not the secretary. If, as we all know.
If we can
the
get someone to be
secretary-
secretary, you bet.
Exactly.
If there's a willing person, God bless him or her. But I would say the chair and vice chair should. And Counselor Oberst?
Just real quick, section 8 does spell out who the officers are,
Yes.
the 4 positions and what their duties are, although it says budget coordinator and then doesn't say another word about the budget coordinator and what their budget coordinator's
Right,
job
and
is.
I will say that we do not and have not had a budget coordinator.
Well, it's in the ordinance, so you
It
can.
is. You're one of the- absolutely.
And I'm wondering if we either want to strike that officer or,
Right.
well, I wouldn't want to strike that officer. Take that officer out of the ordinance or define it one way or the other.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea, and it was, that sort of caught me off guard, you're right. So, yeah, we do currently have a chair and a secretary. We do not currently have a vice chair either.
Uh-huh.
So,
A little short-handed on the board.
yes.
All right, Counselor Carey, and then
Yeah, I'd be a little, one of the things that makes a board successful is someone who is engaged and who is sort of supported by others on that board and in this case, in the senior center. And I don't know that that is limited only to a Monmouth resident. To me, you establish your bona fides by your involvement with the group, and you become identified, as a leader and one that could be elected, to that chair position. And so I guess, on the one hand, I'm saying, less limited, but on the other hand, once there, once you're on the board,
John?
you make or break it based on your deeds and reputation, rather than your residence. So,
all right, I'm going to grab some consensus here and see how this goes. I'm going to ask everybody to hold up your fingers for the number of non-Monmouth residents you would like to see on the board of the Senior Advisory Board.
we got to zoom in.
Interesting.
Hold 3 or 4 fingers up. I got 2 3s and all the rest 4s. So we're going with 4. I'm on the 4 camp. And I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if you think the chair and vice chair should be limited to be residents of Monmouth. Raise your hand. I'm seeing 4 of those hands as well, so I think we have guidance and
4
direction.
members, vice chair and chair residents, and we strike
The
the
budget.
Strike the budget.
Budget coordinator.
I think that's a very good idea. I don't see a need for that position on our
Yeah.
board at all.
probably in the old ordinance language that we just carried forward, and nobody said we don't have one.
Right, I think that's what happened.
Now, Madam Mayor, if I may, there are still 3 flavors that this could come in. I understand you got people waiting in the wings. We could do this with a first and second reading in one meeting, if on a unanimous vote and an emergency clause. We could do it effective in 2 weeks. We could do it with 2 readings and an emergency clause, in which case it would be effective a month from roughly the second meeting of the March council. Or we could do it in 2 readings and no emergency clause, in which case it's effective 30 days after the March meeting. What's your preference?
I'm going to ask if we can do 1 reading and a second reading and an emergency clause. Hopefully, we would have a unanimous vote for that, in which case that would take effect immediately after the first March meeting.
Great.
And then they would be able to start soliciting applications and hopefully, gosh, could we even appoint people at the March meeting if we had applications in hand or?
After the adoption of the ordinance.
Marty's shaking her head at me.
Just moving.
The bums rush.
Well, we must be there among the senior advisory.
No, actually, you could make the appointment early, subject to the adoption of the ordinance, if you want to do it in that order. Yeah, I'm going to do it.
I suggest we start soliciting applications for additional members outside the city of Monmouth, and hopefully we can take all of that action at once if that meets the consent of the chair over there.
Okay,
I really appreciate all of your consideration and discussion. Thank
And
you.
I just say that mostly because they have their meeting will be
Sure.
a couple of weeks after that.
Yeah.
And that way they would have folks available at that.
Get it going.
Yeah, let's get it going.
I know.
okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barbara. You do an amazing job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just as long as you promise to bring back breakfasts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're here.
That was a-
Breakfast
it comes out.
Sunday. All right, and that brings us to council comments and community announcements. What do we have this evening? Councillor McKeel.
Yes, I just want to do our last plug for the closing celebration for Black History Month on Saturday, February 26th, beginning at 4 o'clock. I have a great update. Professor Daryl Thomas, who is the dance professor and co-artistic director for Rainbow Dance Theater, has said he is bringing his dance troupe to the closing celebration. So a great event, just became amazing. We will also see Kaike's band come back, and if you missed Kaike's band the first time, you don't want to miss it the second time.
Don't miss it.
So amazing music, great speakers. So I hope you'll be there. And I promise the Zoom link will work this time. I think we've got the glitch. You gotta love technology until it doesn't work. And I don't know, Councilor Salinos Oliveros, I don't know if you have anything to add. Oh, except a thank you for the Black History Month flags up downtown Main Street. Thank you very much. They look amazing.
Yeah, and I'll put in a plug for the kickoff event, and the band that Carol is mentioning is a group of Central high schoolers, and they are amazing. So,
Great.
okay, yes, Rebecca.
I just wanted to add a thank you to our Councillor Carey, who will be representing the city at the February 26th event. So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you for filling in. Great, and John Oberst has something, and then Chris Lopez.
Quick reminder to council that tomorrow night is the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments virtual annual gathering. You've got a link to register in Friday notes from City Manager Wine, and I would urge everybody to attend that if you can. It's free.
Chris, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to look back a couple days at this past Monday, which was not 4th of July, which was Valentine's Day, but it is also Oregon Statehood Day, which is both worthy of celebration and a little bit sobering. Our Statehood Day falling right in the middle of Black History Month. Our state was born in 1859. However, we carried Black exclusion laws within our state constitution for 67 years until they were finally repealed in 1926. Other racist language wasn't removed from our own constitution until as recently as 2002. So while we can absolutely celebrate some of these wins, it's very much sobering to realize how long this continued in our state, and really just saddening to see the impacts of this today. So I encourage you all to partake in the Black History Month events, and all really think forward looking in how we can continue to improve the inclusion of everyone within our great state and our city.
Thank you, Counselor. All right, and Counselor Carey.
I think we need to start now planning for the celebration and appreciation of Chuck Thurman. It's going to take a lot of planning and going to take a lot of energy, and maybe we can tap some of that community money that MacArthur left. Have a hell of a party.
Yeah, let's light up the town.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Hey, you didn't hear my speech this morning.
Yeah.
I said the Holiday Light Festival was glowing. All right, so thank you, everybody. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.